Pay attention, you pathetic, ailing woman. I've already filed for divorce, this house and everything inside it, and the luxury vehicle. It all belongs to me. When this is done, I'm marrying my fiancée. My husband yelled at me, declared our marriage over, and threw me out when I was terribly sick. He seized everything. Believing he had triumphed, he was sorely mistaken. Only a few days later, he'd be the one phoning me in tears. Before the tale unfolds, please tell me in the comments which state you're viewing this from. Remember to like and subscribe, helping the channel to expand and share more compelling narratives. Nala Aebo was lying in the enormous bed. The linens felt frigid, though her entire body was feverish. The flimsy chemise she favored at home was drenched with perspiration clinging to her brow. Her throat felt parched and raw. Each breath she took brought a piercing pain. She had been confined to her bed, this incapacitated, for 2 whole days. That very morning, she requested her husband, Zaire and Kruma, to get her some fever medication and antibiotics, but night had fallen deeply, and Zaire had not come back. A vast home in the Atlanta suburbs was silent, unnervingly still. The only sound was the clock on the living room wall, ticking away, seemingly marking the final moments of her patience. Nala attempted to grasp the glass of water on the nightstand, but her hands were trembling violently. The glass escaped her grasp, hitting the thick area rug and emptying the last of its water. Nala could only shut her eyes, bearing the hopelessness. Zaire had transformed over the previous year. After his promotion to department head at his firm, his attitude became profoundly arrogant. He often returned home late in the evening and would hastily blame Nala for absolutely everything. The breaking point arrived 3 months ago when Nala began coughing constantly and feeling easily exhausted. Zaire never displayed any compassion. On the contrary, he labeled her the ailing woman. He appeared to have forgotten Nala was the spouse who supported him when they had nothing at all. Back when they resided in a tiny rented flat in Brooklyn, suddenly the sound of a luxury car pulling into the driveway broke the silence. Nala experienced a slight sense of comfort. At last, Zaire was home. He must have brought the medicine. Nala attempted to sit upright, leaning her pained back on the headboard. She waited for Zaire to come through the door with her medicine. The front door crashed closed, trailed by heavy, hurried footsteps. These were not the footsteps of a worried person. They were the strides of an enraged man. The bedroom door burst open, exposing Zaire's imposing, rigid stature. He still wore his flawless designer shirt. His hair was perfectly styled, and his features were handsome, but the look he gave Nala was brimming with icy contempt. In his grasp, there was no pharmacy bag. Instead, he clutched a thick brown legal file. Zaire. Nala's voice was hoarse and faint. "Where is my medicine? My head is pounding, darling. I'm burning up." Zaire laughed, a harsh, grating noise. "Medicine? I have brought something far better than medicine. This is a remedy for us both. A solution for my life," Zaire announced. He marched forward and tossed the brown folder onto the duvet that covered Nala's legs. Nala shuddered, staring at the file in utter confusion. "What is this, honey? Open it now if you'd rather not perish from suspense," Zaire retorted his voice icy and sharp. Using her remaining energy, Nala lifted the folder. Her shaking hands fumbled with the seal. On the envelope, she drew out a few pages of paper. At the very top, she read the words, "Petition for dissolution of marriage." Nala's world froze in that instant. She fought for a breath. The burning fever was gone, replaced by an icy chill that pierced her to the bone. She stared at Zaire, desperately seeking even the smallest flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Yet all she saw was his smug satisfaction. "Divorce," Nala breathed out, incredulous. "Why are you so surprised?" Zaire sneered. He perched on the bed's edge, keeping his distance as if her presence disgusted him. "Listen to me, you pathetic, sick woman. Did you really think I'd waste my life caring for an unproductive weight like you? I have already handled everything. The divorce papers are already filed." Zaire rose and paced the room like he was giving a performance. "I am so tired of it. Tired of watching you cough constantly. Tired of seeing you lifeless in bed all day. You've become a liability. A drain on my existence. Darling, what have I done wrong?" Nala tried to say, as tears welled in her eyes. "Your mistake? Your mistake is being penniless. You offer me nothing." Zaire motioned grandly around the opulent room. "Just look around. This home, this costly furniture, that high-end SUV in the garage, it is all going to be mine. I am the one who earned all of it. Everything is registered to me." Nyala remained silent, but behind her gaze lay something Zaire couldn't decipher. He interpreted Nyala's silence as total defeat. "Do you hear me? You won't receive a single cent. Division of assets? Don't even think about it. You came into this house with nothing, and you will leave with nothing." Then Zaire delivered the words that completely shattered the fragile remains of Nyala's heart. "Once this is all done," he declared, his face alight, "I'm marrying my fiancée, Anna." He paused for dramatic effect. "She's far healthier, far more beautiful, and crucially, she appreciates my status as a successful man, unlike you." Nyala shut her eyes. So, another woman existed all along. The name was foreign, but the agony was piercingly real. "I don't want to see your face in this home by morning," Zaire added with malice. "You have until sunrise. Get out of this house by tomorrow. Take nothing except the clothes on your ailing back." Zaire glanced at Nyala, who was now weeping soundlessly. Warm tears streamed down her pallid face. "Crying will change nothing. The documents are already filed. The process will be very quick." Zaire then turned away, smoothing his shirt. "I'll be sleeping at Anna's downtown loft tonight. I refuse to be under the same roof with you." He stopped at the door. "Tomorrow morning, I am sending someone over to ensure you have left." Nyala wanted to scream at him, to curse his name, but she was utterly drained. She could only stare as her husband's figure vanished beyond the door. The bedroom door slammed violently shut. This was followed by the slam of the front door. A moment after, Zaire's SUV roared down the driveway. Nyala was utterly alone, gravely ill, divorced, and thrown out. She sobbed uncontrollably. The ache in her soul hurt more than the fever burning through her body. She grieved for her broken marriage and for the vicious betrayal. After weeping for 15 minutes, Nyala forced herself to stop. She gasped, harshly wiping her tears away. In the midst of the pain, a new feeling surfaced, something frigid, sharp, and deliberate, her once pallid expression now set like stone. She fumbled under the pillow, not her usual one, but a spare that was always there, kept in this very spot. Her fingers brushed a hard, slender device. She drew it out. It was a top-of-the-line smartphone, much more advanced than the old model on her nightstand. This particular device was her secret. One true secret, a tool Zaire had no idea existed. The phone lacked a pattern lock, opening only to her fingerprint. The display illuminated, revealing a stark white background. It held no social media, only secure encrypted corporate applications. Nyala accessed the sole contact, listed under the name Director Imani Nkosi. She initiated the call. Her heart hammered in her chest, not from sickness, but from the rage now boiling inside her. The line connected instantly. A woman's poised, professional tone responded from the other side of the call. "Good evening, Miss Nyala. Calling so late? Is everything all right? I heard that you were unwell." Nyala drew in a sharp breath, forcing her voice to be steady. "Director Nkosi," she began, her tone hoarse, yet ringing with an icy resolve. Activate the contingency plan. A momentary pause followed, then Director Nkosi's tone shifted. Became grave. Understood, ma'am. What happened? I was evicted, Nala said. Zaire divorced me. He believes I'm a worthless, sickly pauper. Good heavens, the absolute nerve of Mr. Zaire, Director Nkosi seethed. Director, I'm sick. My fever is dangerously high. I require a medical evac. I won't go to a public hospital. Come to the house and retrieve me. Bring the private medical unit from the King's Mountain Clinic. No sirens. Make it discreet. I want no witnesses. Understood, ma'am. The VVIP medical team arrives in 30 minutes. I am on my way now. To get you personally. Can you hold on? Nyala's gaze fell to the divorce papers on the bed. With what little power she had left, she crushed the document in her hand. I must hold on, Director. The real game is just starting. She ended the call. Her body was still shaking with fever, but her eyes now burned with a fierce light in the gloom. Zaire had just committed the greatest error of his life. He had discarded his wife, completely unaware he had just cast out the owner of Aebo Holdings, a global firm with net profits of $1.5 million per month. Nala waited. In the oppressive silence, each tick from the wall clock felt like a hammer's strike. She clutched her secret phone. Her thoughts were in chaos. She was terrified Zaire would return, terrified the medical team would be late. Her body cycled once more between freezing chills and burning heat. Precisely 25 minutes later, her phone buzzed. A text from Director Nkosi. We are here. The door is unlocked. The team is coming inside. Nala breathed out. A long sigh of relief. She had predicted Zaire wouldn't bother to lock the door. He was far too arrogant to imagine. His dying wife was capable of anything. With her remaining strength, Nala shoved the heavy comforter aside. Her feet met the cold floor. The room swam violently around her. She nearly collapsed, catching the bedpost. She had to go. With shaking hands, she seized a long trench coat from the back of the door. She slipped it on. She refused to leave this house in a degrading situation. She refused to let Zaire strip her of her dignity. The bedroom door swung open without a sound. Nala flinched, but then saw two figures in dark scrubs, not the typical bright white nurse attire. They moved with swift, silent purpose. Behind them emerged Director Nkosi, a woman in her late 50s, her face a mixture of sternness and kindness, dressed in a sharp blazer and pristine attire. Her expression was filled with profound concern as she saw Nyala's state. Miss Nala, Director Nkosi murmured. I am ready, Director, Nala answered faintly. Place Miss Nala on the portable stretcher, Director Nkosi commanded. The medical team swiftly unfolded a collapsible gurney. They assisted Nala onto it with the greatest possible care. Ma'am, we are going to inject a temporary fever reducer to make you more comfortable for the transfer, a member of the medical team explained. Nala simply nodded. She felt a small prick in her arm, and a cold sensation quickly spread through her. As they raised her, Nala cast a final glance at the bedroom ceiling, the very room she had decorated with her own hands, the room that bore silent witness to the chilling change in Zaire's demeanor. They carried her from the room and moved through the lavish living area. Nyala's eyes fixed upon the large wedding photograph hanging on the wall, a portrait of her and Zaire, both smiling with pure joy. The Zaire she once knew, the man who was so tender and loving. Now, that photo felt like a cruel mockery. Leave it all. Don't take a thing, Nala whispered. Of course, ma'am. We require nothing from this place. Director Nkosi responded with firm reassurance. They passed through the front door. In the driveway, no conspicuous ambulance waited. Instead, a black Mercedes-Benz Sprinter was parked there, resembling a presidential escort vehicle. Its side door slid open, revealing an interior transformed into a fully equipped VVIP emergency medical unit. Meanwhile, in a luxurious downtown loft, Zaire was laughing loudly. He was pouring a cocktail into a tall glass for Anna, a stunning young woman dressed in a sheer chemise. "So, tomorrow we are the official owners of that huge house, darling?" Anna purred. "Absolutely," I threw her out. That pathetic, sick woman wouldn't dare to protest. She has absolutely nothing. "Tomorrow, I'm having all of the locks changed, and the day after that we can begin remodeling the bedroom," Zaire stated, as he pulled Anna into an embrace. "How thrilling. Finally, it will all be ours," Anna exclaimed. Zaire lifted his glass. "To our new life," he toasted. His old mobile phone sat on the table, switched to silent. He refused to be disturbed by any call from that frail woman. Inside the medical vehicle gliding smoothly through the night, Nyala's condition was being addressed. A doctor on board the vehicle immediately began an IV drip. "Her temperature is 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 41.7 degrees. This is a very severe infection, but we are intervening now. We must get her to the hospital for intensive care quickly," the doctor declared. Director Nkosi was seated in a chair beside Nyala's gurney. She watched Nyala's pallid face with a troubled expression. "Ma'am, you need to be strong. We have prepared everything for you at the King's Mountain Clinic." Nyala shut her eyes. The fever-reducing medication was beginning to work, easing the dizzy spell. Her mind drifted back into the past. 5 years ago, at the start of this entire secret arrangement, Zaire had just been let go from his very first job. He fell into a depression for months. Nyala, who was a simple homemaker at the time, tried to soothe his ego. Zaire grew insecure about finances. He forbade Nyala from working, citing his pride. "Your place is to be at home. I will provide for us," he demanded, despite being jobless. But Nyala, who secretly held a degree in pharmacology, felt stifled. Her mind was brimming with ideas. Between her domestic duties, she quietly began to experiment in her kitchen, not with food, but creating skincare formulas from organic herbal ingredients. She drew upon ancestral recipes from her grandmother, investing her entire personal savings to acquire premium raw materials. Following months of trials, she perfected a facial serum and a brightening cream with remarkable effects. Using it herself, the transformation was amazing. Zaire, preoccupied with his job search, paid her no attention. To him, his wife was just playing around in the kitchen. Nyala gathered her courage and launched a small online boutique. At first, she sold only to friends, but her products gained renown by reputation alone. Orders multiplied. It was just then that Zaire finally landed a new job. With a good salary, he began to grow arrogant. He would see Nyala working late into the night on her old phone, replying to clients, "I provide for you, yet you're obsessed with that phone. You must have too much free time," Zaire berated her one evening. Nyala remained completely silent. She had just finalized a deal worth $30,000 that night. Her life's turning point arrived when she encountered director Imani Inosi at a summit for female entrepreneurs. Nyala was merely an attendee, while director Inosi was the event's guest speaker. Director Inosi was a retired top executive from a global corporation who had chosen to retire early. Nyala summoned the nerve to approach Director Inosi afterward. She presented her line of products, along with a hand-drafted business plan. Director Inosi was stunned by Nyala's incredible potential. "This product is superb, Miss Nyala, and your business strategy is exceptionally sound," Director Inosi remarked. In essence, Director Inosi consented to come aboard not merely as an investor, but as a full partner. Director Inosi desired to work again and believed in Nyala's vision. They established Aebo Holdings, known as AH. Nyala was the proprietor and the creative genius behind every product. Director Inosi served as the CEO and the public face of the enterprise. Nala made a single request, that her name be kept completely anonymous. She wished to remain as Zaire's ordinary wife. In a twist of irony, using Director Inosi's network, she hoped that Zaire, upon succeeding at his new job, might become a better husband. But Nala was gravely mistaken. The more Zaire succeeded, the more his arrogance swelled. Conversely, was experiencing explosive growth. From skincare, the company branched into luxury fashion, their high-end apparel and accessories, all designed by Nala, became sensations both at home and abroad: New York, Paris, Shanghai, and even Tokyo. A monthly net profit of $1.5 million was considered a conservative estimate. That was Nala's own personal net income. Beyond the company's revenue, which was many times greater, Nala carefully kept this immense wealth a total secret. She maintained a simple lifestyle, even as Zaire desired a luxurious home and a sports car. He was forced to secure a substantial bank loan for it all. Zaire bragged that his stellar job performance secured the deal. But Zaire had no idea that his business loan, which nearly defaulted just 1 year prior, had been covertly acquired by an investment firm, which was a subsidiary of the magnificent house and the sports car he flaunted, both collateral for the loan, were now legally the property not of the bank, but rather of which ultimately meant they belonged to Nala. She opened her eyes as the ambulance entered the hospital's VVIP wing. Hospital. "Director," Nala called out. Her voice was still faint, but her gaze was sharp as steel. "Yes, Miss Nala." Director Inosi leaned in. "Zaire has taken the house and the car. He claims they are all his, that they are in his name." Director Inosi offered a slight, knowing smile. "He's forgotten, ma'am, who settled his entire business loan from the First National Bank of Atlanta a year ago, when he was just on the verge of foreclosure." Nala then continued. "He forgot that the collateral for that very loan was the house and luxury car he would show off every single day. And he is certainly unaware," Director Inosi added, "that the investment company that purchased all of his debt from the bank is none other than Aebo Holdings." A brief silence fell, and the doctor and nurse in the vehicle professionally feigned ignorance of the private talk. "Director Inosi," Nala commanded, "you may initiate the asset recovery process. When would you like me to begin, ma'am?" Nala gazed at the streetlights blurring past. "He threw me out tonight. He believes I'll be homeless by morning. I intend to let him enjoy his little victory with that woman. Give him 3 days to savor his win." Director Inosi nodded. 3 days. Consider it one last free rental he's getting from us. After those 3 days, our legal team proceeds. Precisely. On the 3rd day, we reclaim everything that is rightfully yours, ma'am. Good. Nala shut her eyes again. For now, focus on my recovery. I must be well enough to see his world come crashing down. The ambulance halted at a private entrance. A team of specialists was already waiting. Nala was taken to a presidential treatment suite. Far from there, Zaire was sleeping peacefully in the arms of Anna, dreaming of a beautiful new life, completely oblivious that his own was set to end in 3 days. The triumph was far too sweet for Zaire. He awoke in Anna's plush loft apartment. The morning sun streamed in the tall windows, bathing the room in a golden hue. Anna still slept beside him, clinging tightly to his arm. Zaire gazed at her beautiful face and smiled with deep contentment. He had done it. He was rid of the great burden on his life, that ailing woman, Nala. He imagined that right now, Nala was likely crying at a bus depot, trying to get back to her parents' rundown house. Zaire chuckled under his breath. She was no longer his problem. His fantastic new life would start today. "Good morning, darling," Anna's throaty, suggestive voice purred. She opened her eyes. "What time is it? Is that woman out of our house yet?" She's long gone, he replied with confidence. I made her leave before sunrise. She has no other choice. She has no money, no influence. She's just a weak woman who depended on me. Anna beamed. She rose from the bed. Her silk nightgown slipped, revealing her shoulders. Wonderful. I am so ready to move in. This loft is lovely, but that house is a palace, and I intend to be its queen. Of course, my love. Anything for you, Zaire said. Come on. Get ready. We'll be having breakfast at our new home today. I'll instruct the maid to get rid of all of Nala's things. That remains. I want every single trace of her gone. An hour later, Zaire's sports car smoothly glided into the grand driveway. Zaire emerged from the car, sunglasses on, looking every bit the king. Anya walked proudly on his arm. Zaire swung open the front door. Welcome to our palace, my queen, he declared. They stepped inside. It was odd. The residence was eerily silent, yet impeccably clean. Too clean. Zaire anticipated that Nala would have left a path of destruction, maybe throwing things or sobbing, but she hadn't. Zaire strode to the bedroom, pushing open the door, his heart beating slightly faster. He discovered the room was unbelievably neat. The bed where Nala was writhing in agony just yesterday was now perfectly made with fresh white linens and pillowcases. No sign of medicine or the shattered water glass remained. Even the carpet beside the bed where Nala had dropped the glass appeared completely dry and spotless. She must have cleaned it all, Zaire mumbled, confused. Good, I'm glad she behaved, Anya retorted from behind. At least she made herself useful one final time. Zaire felt a growing unease. It was very strange. How could Nala, with a high fever, manage to tidy this room so perfectly? And what happened to the soiled sheets? He went to the closet. Nyala's simple clothing, her flowing dresses, and all her headscarves had vanished. The vanity drawers were completely empty, too. She's actually gone, Zaire stated, a sense of relief washing over him. He dismissed the feeling of unease. Perhaps she called a cab and left with a small suitcase. It's better like this, a clean break. Of course, it's clean. Now, let's measure the room, Anya declared with excitement. This bed has to go. It's so dated. I want a round canopy bed, and all these walls must be repainted. I want them painted a gold color. Anya swept through the house, her shrill voice shattering the silence. She pointed her finger at the furniture. This sofa is hideous. Replace it. That painting is tacky. Get rid of it. This kitchen requires a total remodel. I want a complete Italian kitchen suite. Zaire simply smiled. Of course, my love. I'll change absolutely everything. Anything for you. We are celebrating tonight. I'm inviting our closest friends. I will order the most extravagant catering in the city. Zaire took out his phone, dialing his go-to premium caterer. He promptly ordered the priciest menu items, imported Wagyu beef, fresh seafood platters, and premium European juices. Certainly, Mr. Zaire. The total for your order comes to $2,000. As per our policy, we do require a 50% deposit now, the catering agent explained over the phone. Naturally, just send the invoice over. I will pay using my primary credit card, Zaire replied arrogantly. He settled onto the sofa. Anya loathed and launched his banking app. He attempted to pay the $1,000 catering deposit. He input the credit card details and tapped the pay button. The phone processed for a moment, and then a red notification flashed on the screen. Transaction denied. Zaire frowned. Strange. The limit on this card was still hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's probably a network issue, he muttered to himself. He tried it again. Transaction denied. Darling, what is taking you so long? Anya called out, busy snapping selfies in the living room. Just one moment, darling. I believe the bank's network is having problems. Zaire attempted to sound casual. He was beginning to feel rather embarrassed. He attempted to use another credit card from the very same bank. Rejected. A cold sweat started to form on his temples. This was impossible. He was a premier client. Why were his cards declining? He tried his debit card. Declined. Insufficient funds. Zaire's eyes widened. Insufficient funds? Impossible. His pay had just arrived 3 days ago. He hastily closed the payment app and launched his primary banking application. His heart pounded. He keyed in his password. The screen loaded, and a stark message appeared. Access denied. Please contact your nearest branch. Zaire's entire body went rigid. A cold panic began to spread through his chest. This was a catastrophe. He couldn't access his main salary account. He couldn't use any of his credit cards. Zaire, the caterer just called me. He says the payment is still declining. How mortifying. Anna snapped, her brow deeply furrowed. Relax, darling. Relax. Zaire was panicking. He suddenly remembered that he still had a backup account at a different bank, one he rarely touched and which wasn't tied to any line of credit. The balance was modest, but a few thousand should be left. With unsteady hands, he attempted to pay the catering deposit from it. With that account. Approved. Zaire exhaled in relief. For the moment, he had managed to save face. Before Anna. See? Just a network issue, Zaire said, flashing a strained smile. It's all sorted. The catering will be here at 7 o'clock this evening. Anna's mood brightened instantly. Great. Now I must get ready for my hair appointment. The moment Anna left, Zaire's smile evaporated. His face went pale. Something was profoundly wrong. Why was his primary account frozen? Could this have anything to do with Nala? Impossible. That foolish woman wasn't capable of orchestrating something like this. He swore to himself that tomorrow morning he would phone the bank and give them an earful. He'd demand reparations for this. Humiliation, without a doubt. As he paced the room, trying to quell his anxiety, the doorbell chimed sharply. Zaire opened the door to find a uniformed courier before him, holding a large manila folder. Mr. Zaire? Yes, that's me. Certified delivery. Please sign here. Zaire signed the device, shut the door, and then examined the folder. The sender was from a prestigious-sounding law firm, Vega and Associates. Zaire assumed they were the court-approved documents pertaining to his person's divorce petition. He tore it open impatiently, but the contents were not from the family court. It was a formal demand letter, a stern legal warning. His eyes flew across the harsh, formal sentences. Dear Sir, on behalf of our client AH Holdings, we hereby notify you of a material breach of contract concerning your business line of town. Credit. The full principal amount, $4 million, is now immediately due. You are granted a grace period of only 3 days to settle the debt in full. Failure to comply will result in the immediate and forced seizure of your assets, namely, 1 residential property at 12 Oak Street and 1 luxury sports vehicle. The glass Zaire held slipped from his grasp, shattering on the opulent marble floor. Cold sweat beaded on his skin. 3 days, $4 million. Foreclosure on my home. No, it's impossible, he whispered, trembling. I just paid the installment last week. What breach of contract? And who is AH Holdings? His moment of triumph had instantly become the dawn of a living nightmare. That evening, surrounded by music and laughter with his friends and Anna, Zaire could only muster a hollow smile. His mind was in turmoil. He felt an unseen snare tightening slowly around his neck. Zaire did not sleep at all that night. Beside him, Anna was deep in slumber, exhausted from their party. Yet in Zaire's mind, the words of the notary's demand letter replayed endlessly. 4 million, 3 days, forced execution, A Holdings. The moment the dawn call to prayer sounded, Zaire shot out of bed. His frame ached, and his eyes were crimson. he bypassed the shower, only washing his face. And dressed in a rush. He had lost all concern for his appearance. At 8 o'clock, as the bank opened its doors, Zaire was already steering his car towards his main bank branch, where he was a VIP customer. He was desperate to clear up this mess. It had to be a simple clerical error on the bank's part. There was no other way. At 8 o'clock, as the bank opened, Zaire charged inside. He cut past the line of regular patrons, heading straight to the VIP service desk. "I am Zaire. I demand to see the branch manager this instant," he boomed, smacking his VIP card on the countertop. The astonished service employee promptly responded to his demand. Zaire was led to a private waiting area. Just 5 minutes later, a sharply dressed relationship manager entered to meet him. To his dismay, not the branch manager. "Good morning, Mr. Zaire. How can I assist?" "Allow me to pull up your account." "Spare me the pleasantries," Zaire snapped, cutting him off. "Explain why all my credit cards are declined, why my payroll account is inaccessible, and why I received this ludicrous demand for breach of contract." The manager remained composed, studying his screen. "I do apologize for this inconvenience, Mr. Zaire. Allow me to investigate." That's interesting." "What is interesting?" Zaire bellowed. The manager looked up from his screen. "We are not the ones who blocked your accounts and your credit cards, sir. It is simply that your balance is now zero, and your line of credit is now fully depleted." "Impossible!" Zaire roared. "My salary is thousands of dollars a month, and my limit is hundreds of thousands of dollars. I spent nothing yesterday." "That's accurate, sir, but the system logged an emergency automatic debit against your business line of credit last night at 12:01 a.m. This debit has absorbed the complete balance of your payroll account and, in the same instant, depleted the entire remaining limit of all your credit cards." The color drained from Zaire's face. "An emergency debit? On whose authority?" The manager glanced at his screen. "Not by our directive, sir. The order came from the new holder of your line of credit." "New holder?" "Our records indicate that the $4 million business loan that you took with our bank was purchased 6 months ago by a private equity firm known as A Holdings. We simply act as the managing agency for the monthly loan installments." Zaire felt his stomach drop. A Holdings. "But why would they do this?" "I have never once missed a payment." The manager simply shook his head. "That falls beyond our authority, sir. As per the notification we received from A Holdings late last night, you have officially been declared in breach of the contract due to the loan sale agreement. Once a breach is declared, A Holdings has the legal right to forcibly extract funds from your accounts as a preliminary late fee, and it seems that is precisely what has occurred." The room began to spin for Zaire. He gripped the side of the desk for support. How could I possibly be in breach? We are not privy to the details, sir. They must be explained in the demand letter from the notary you received. You must take this matter up directly with A Holdings or their attorneys," the manager said, his tone devoid of any emotion, as though he were talking about the weather. Zaire stumbled out of the bank. The sky itself seemed to spin as sweat drenched his shirt. He sat paralyzed in his sports car, a vehicle set to be repossessed in just 3 days. His hands trembled uncontrollably. Aebo Holdings, that name again. He fumbled for his phone, desperately searching for Aebo Holdings on the internet. What he found was a colossal corporation. Aebo Holdings, a massive conglomerate operating in luxury fashion, global skincare, and the real estate market. Its logo was ubiquitous. Zaire had noticed it before, but had never given it a second thought. Why? Why would a company this huge acquire my worthless debt? He mumbled desperately. Then he recalled the law firm's name on the demand letter, Vega Associates. Summoning what little courage remained, he dialed the number printed on the document. "Good morning. My name is Zaire. I received a notary demand letter from Aebo Holdings. Surely this is a mistake. I've never been in default. The voice on the other end was unnervingly calm. There is no mistake, Mr. Zaire. Our client is proceeding in accordance with the law. You violated Clause 11, Section B of the loan contract you signed. Clause 11, Section B. What is that? If you find reading the documents you signed to be tedious, Mr. Zaire, that particular clause states you are required to uphold family harmony and refrain from immoral or dishonorable acts that could tarnish the image of the business loan. Zaire was speechless. He felt all the blood drain from his face. That's a ridiculous clause. It's completely unrelated to the debt. It is, Mr. Zaire. When your loan was acquired by our client, all terms, particularly that morality clause, were activated. Our client is a corporation that places a high premium on family values. Your actions divorcing and evicting your terminally ill wife, Nala, to live with another woman is a severe violation of Clause 11, Section B. Zaire couldn't catch his breath. How? How could they No, we possess irrefutable proof, Mr. Zaire. Photos, sound recordings, and witnesses. We know you evicted your wife 2 nights ago. That action is what triggered this claim of breach. Zaire's knees gave out. Nala. All of this had to be because of Nala. But how? How could Nala possibly know Aebo Holdings? What do they want? Give me time, I can pay the installments, Zaire pleaded, his voice trembling with fear. It is too late for that. Our client has no interest in installments. As per the notary demand letter, your time is limited. Let me see. You have 2 days and 8 hours remaining to settle the $4 million in full. If you fail, our execution team will seize your house and your car. The line went dead. Zaire hurled his phone against the dashboard, screaming inside the confines of his car. $4 million in 2 days. It was an impossible demand. His salary was frozen. His only assets were the house and the car, which he now realized were never truly his. He struggled to think clearly. Nala? This had to be Nala's doing. But how? Could Nala be a cleaner at Aebo Holdings who complained to the boss? Impossible. It made no sense. He desperately searched for who owned Aebo Holdings, opening a business news site. The proprietor of Aebo Holdings was an enigmatic figure. The corporation was managed by a CEO named Director Imani and Kashe. Imani? Zaire frowned. The name felt strangely familiar. Then it hit him. Years ago, Nala had mentioned an Aunt Imani, a close friend from her church group, describing her as an incredible person. Zaire had always dismissed it. It's just a group of neighborhood ladies, he'd once said. Could it possibly be that Nala's friend from her group was the CEO of Aebo Holdings? Zaire's head throbbed. This was all too bird. The situation was dire. He needed to locate Nala, to plead with her, to convince her to retract the complaint filed with Director Imani. Indeed, it was his sole option. He started the car instantly. He had to discover Nala's current location. He needed to find her. To Nala's parents' humble home. He had to leave immediately. While pulling out of the bank's parking area, his phone began to ring. It was Anna. Zaire disregarded the call. Anna persisted. Annoyed, Zaire finally answered. What is it? Where are you, dear? Why are you shouting? Get here now. The credit card you provided this morning was declined at the salon. This is absolutely humiliating for me. Are you actually solvent? Zaire slammed his fist on the steering wheel. Another complication. I have a crisis. You cover it first. With your own funds. Excuse me? My own funds? Impossible. You transfer the money now. I said I have an emergency. Zaire ended the call sharply. Back at the salon, Anna gazed at her phone, completely stunned. Zaire had never raised his voice at her before. A sense of unease began to creep in. The wealthy man she'd boasted of was suddenly having issues with all his credit cards. Suspicion started to fester in her thoughts. Zaire had no more time for Anna. He slammed his foot on the sports car's accelerator. He had to get to Nala. He would grovel at her feet if he had to. Little did he know that the very Nala he was searching for was recuperating from her sickness, seated in an executive chair on the top floor of the Holdings corporate building. Observing Zaire's every desperate action via updates from her legal team, there was no escape for Zaire. The following day was a living nightmare. His journey to Nala's parents' home was fruitless. Their house was small and unassuming, just as he had anticipated. However, Nala's parents, while appearing impoverished, stared at him with both loathing and compassion. Nala was absent. They claimed not to know their daughter's whereabouts. "You cast my daughter out when she was ill, correct?" Nala's father questioned, his voice shaking with restrained fury. "And now you have the nerve to search for her. Leave this place. Do not ever dare to set foot in this home again." Zaire returned to the city completely empty-handed. What little cash remained in his emergency fund was depleted on fuel for the trip. That evening, he and Anna had a massive argument. Anna demanded to know what was happening. Teetering on the edge of disaster, Zaire finally admitted he had an administrative issue, and that his accounts had been provisionally frozen. Anna was no fool. She noticed the official demand letter sitting on the table. 3 days, $4 million. Foreclosure. "You are finished, Zaire," Anna shrieked with hysteria. "This is just temporary. I will solve it. This is entirely Nala's doing," Zaire shouted in exasperation. "I do not care whose fault this is. I refuse to be with a poor man." That evening, they lay in the chilly, opulent bed, turned away from each other. Zaire was unable to shut his eyes. The countdown in his mind was relentless. Tomorrow was the 3rd day. The morning of that final day was the most frightening of Zaire's existence. The sun came up, yet it felt like the apocalypse. At 9 o'clock, just as he and Anna ate their breakfast in a tense silence, the doorbell chimed. Zaire and Anna stared at one another, their faces ashen. Zaire shook his head slowly. "Do not open that door. Act like we aren't here." The bell chimed once more urgently this time, joined by heavy pounding on the door. "Mr. Zaire, we are aware you are in there. We represent the law firm Vega Associates." Zaire's heart stopped cold. Anna began to sob out of sheer terror. "What are we going to do, Zaire? What will we do now?" "Do," Anya wept. A terrified Zaire bolted for the back door, hoping to flee through the yard, but as he flung open the kitchen door, 2 imposing security guards blocked his path. "We must ask you to stay inside, sir," they declared firmly. Zaire was cornered. He retreated to the living room, just as the team of lawyers gained entry with a locksmith they'd brought along. A man in a flawless suit strode in, clutching a folder. Following him, court-martials carried Holdings seizure notices. "Mr. Zaire, your time has expired." Precisely 3 days later, the lawyer stated icily, "By court order, we are commencing the forced execution proceedings on this house and all its assets to satisfy the outstanding debt to our client, Holdings. No. Please, just give me more time." Zaire collapsed to his knees, his arrogance instantly gone. "I swear I'll pay. Just give to me 1 more week." The lawyer simply shook his head. "You've had more than enough time. Our team is starting their work now. You may only take the personal items you are currently wearing. You have 15 minutes to vacate the premises." Voluntarily. 15 minutes! Anya shrieked. In that instant, reality crashed down on her. She saw Zaire, kneeling on the floor and weeping like a child. The man she once saw as a king was now just a pathetic beggar. Anya's expression hardened. She refused to go down with him. Wordlessly, Anya bolted to her room. A stunned Zaire yelled after her, "Anya, where are you going? You have to help me." The court-martials filed in, indifferent to the unfolding drama. They began affixing Holdings foreclosure notices to the flat-screen TV, the plush sofa, and the costly paintings. From outside, the growl of a tow truck arriving for Zaire's sports car could be heard. 5 minutes on, Anya returned. She was no longer in tears. She hauled 2 large suitcases, evidently packed in advance. She completely ignored Zaire, who stared at her, dumbfounded, as she marched directly to the front door. "Anya, you're leaving me?" Zaire wailed, his voice shattering. Anya paused and spun around, her expression filled with pure hate. "Leaving you? Absolutely. I won't live with a penniless failure like you. I thought you were royalty, but you're just a joke. Enjoy this ruin by yourself, Zaire. I've called a cab." "Goodbye." Anya strode out, pulling her luggage past the court agents without a single glance back. Zaire was frozen, betrayed and deserted, just as he had done to Nala 3 days prior. The key difference was that Nala had been cast out while ill, while Anya left him at the height of his downfall. "Your time is up, Mr. Zaire," a security guard announced, seizing Zaire's arm. Zaire was forcibly removed from his own home and tossed onto the scorching sidewalk. He was still wearing his pajamas. He watched his cherished sports car being hauled from the garage. He saw the very door of his house get chained and sealed shut. It was all gone. In just 3 days, Zaire crumpled helplessly onto the concrete. People passing by gave him strange looks. The once arrogant man was now a public spectacle. He was alone, penniless, homeless, and utterly abandoned. Amid his rising panic and indescribable shame, his mind could only fixate on a single name. The architect of all this, Nala. He frantically checked his pockets. His old phone was still there. He had no idea who he could even call. He wanted to curse Nala, yet he also needed to beg her. He was lost. He just had to let it all out. With trembling hands, he desperately scrolled to find Nala, my wife, in his phone. He hit the call icon, not truly expecting a reply. Perhaps her number had changed or her phone was dead. Yet it rang once, twice, and on the 3rd signal, the line connected. "Hello." The voice was unmistakably Nyala's, yet it lacked any trace of sickness. It was the composed, sharp, and icy tone of a woman. Zaire, poised to unleash his fury, suddenly felt utterly diminished. He wept, his sobs erupting uncontrollably. It was the cry of a broken man. "Nala," he cried hysterically. "Nala, please, help me. Nala, I don't understand what's going on." "They seized our home. They took the car and kicked me out. I'm completely homeless. Nala, why did this all happen?" Meanwhile, on the 40th floor of the Holdings building, within a VVIP treatment suite, which was now a makeshift luxury office, sat Nala. Sat with complete composure. No longer bedridden, she appeared healthy, vigorous, and profoundly dignified. An emerald satin scarf now framed her resolute face. Across from her, Director Inozi and several of the department heads were gathered. In the middle of a meeting, the old phone Nala requested Director Nkosi retrieve from home began to vibrate on the table. The name Zaire illuminated the screen. The discussion halted instantly. Every gaze shifted to Nala. Nala raised one hand, silently requesting for everyone's patience. She glanced at the director with a faint smile, then pressed the speakerphone button so that everyone present could listen in. Zaire's frantic sobs instantly echoed through the space. "Nala, help me, please. Nala, I don't understand what's happening. They took our house, seized the car, and threw me out. I'm homeless, Nala." "Why is this happening?" Nala patiently waited for Zaire's crying to subside. She gestured for her team to stay quiet. The room's silence was a stark contrast to Zaire's desperate voice on the phone. After Zaire's sobs died down, Nala leaned in closer to the microphone. She replied in a composed, strong tone, a voice Zaire had never heard from her. "Excuse me, Who is this speaking? A dead silence fell on the other end of the line. Zaire's weeping ceased instantly. What? What? It's me, Nala. It's Zaire, your husband. Ah, Mr. Zaire, Nala replied, with a detached air, as if addressing a complete stranger. I believe you're mistaken. First of all, you are no longer my husband. The divorce papers were officially filed this very morning. Secondly, regarding our house, 3 days ago you clarified that it was your house, correct? Zaire choked, struggling for air. His throat felt parched. This was Nala's voice, but it wasn't his Nala. Not the fragile woman he could walk all over. This voice radiated sheer authority. Nala, where are you? He whispered, petrified. What have you done? Your voice. Are you actually healthy? I'm in a crucial meeting at the moment. Nala responded coolly. She settled back in her chair, gazing at the city skyline through the enormous window behind her. We're discussing an expansion into the Middle East. It's a concept you wouldn't understand. Business, you see. Zaire was bewildered. Nala, stop talking crazy and help me. I know you're behind all of this. It has to be that friend of yours from your circle, Director Imani, isn't it? You must have complained to her. Please, Nala, just tell her to call this off. I'll do anything. I will come back to you. I'll even divorce Anya, I swear. A frigid, cynical laugh then crackled through the speaker. It was Niala's laughter. Come back to me? Why would I ever want to pick up the trash that I've already discarded? And about Anya, you're too late, Zaire. She's left you an hour ago. At the exact moment the seizure team appeared. My legal counsel just notified me. Zaire felt as if a bucket of ice water had been splashed over his head. Nala was aware. She knew it all. She was watching it all. Who are you? Zaire whispered, his voice laced with terror. The hair on his neck stood on end. Who in the world are you, Nala? Nala simply smiled. Do you really want the truth, Zaire? During all those years you lived with me, you belittled me, calling me a feeble, penniless woman who did nothing but play on her phone. You never bothered to ask what I was actually doing with it. What are you saying? Nala then gestured toward Director Enosi, who took the lead. Good day, Mr. Zaire. You're currently speaking with the board of directors at Aebo Holdings. Zaire recognized that composed voice from the collections call. Director, please tell me why. Are you using Niala's phone? What is your connection to my wife? Nala took the phone from her. She is not just a friend. Zaire. She's my right hand, the CEO managing the company in my stead. A deep silence followed. Zaire fought to process this. Astounding information. You asked me who I am. Nala pressed on. She moved to the window, peering down at the street where Zaire now was sitting like a destitute man. You rang the number of the penniless wife you forsook, but now you will allow me to formally introduce myself to you. Niala's voice resonated with absolute authority. Hello there, Zaire. You are now speaking with Nala, the singular owner, founder, and chairperson of Aebo Holdings, the corporation that boasts a net profit of $1.5 million monthly and has just successfully repossessed all of its assets directly from you. The phone escaped Zaire's grip, tumbling onto the pavement with a loud clatter. Zaire himself was frozen solid, his eyes wide with dread, gazing at the blistering pavement. He stopped to breathe. His reality hadn't just been broken into pieces, it was gone. Zaire's body gave way, and he fell onto the filthy pavement, completely petrified. His phone rested beside him on the ground. The screen was now cracked, but the call was still live. He could make out Niala's calm, steady breathing on the other side of the connection, a stark contrast to the frantic rhythm of his own heart. No. Impossible, Zaire gasped, his voice fractured and weak, refusing to believe what he heard. This is just a nightmare. Nala, you must be lying. Right? This entire thing is just a fabrication. Niala's voice returned, icy and detached. I have no time for deceit, Zaire. I am very busy, but given that today marks the day of your total collapse, I will afford you a moment of my attention. A brief silence followed on the line. Zaire was still in a daze, gazing at the asphalt below his feet. Lift your head up, Zaire, Nala commanded him. Now look directly across the street. Just a bit to your left. Gradually, like a damaged automaton, Zaire raised his head, his swollen eyes squinted against the bright midday light. On the far side of the teeming avenue, a blue glass tower stood with sheer arrogance. At the very top, 3 enormous letters glistened in. The bright sun. The Aebo Holdings Tower. That tower, Zaire whispered, his throat constricted and dry. Indeed, Aebo Holdings, Nala confirmed. I am on the 40th floor right now. I can see you perfectly from this window. You look absolutely pitiful sitting there on the sidewalk. There was a beat of silence. The security in this district will be removing you very soon. Zaire swallowed thickly. A cold terror crept down his entire spine. Nala was observing him. Come up to the lobby, Nala instructed. I want to see you. I want to look with my own eyes how the face of that prideful man completely falls apart. Then the call ended. Zaire stood there, stunned, for an entire minute. His body felt completely paralyzed. He had lost everything. The house was gone, the car was gone, Anya was gone, and finally, even his dignity. On the verge of total ruin. He was trapped, with nowhere left to turn. A dark sense of curiosity mingled with a faint, foolish hope that he could beg for mercy compelled him to move. He got up, his steps unsure. His pajamas were already soiled with the grime of the streets. He shambled like a corpse toward the building's massive glass doors, oblivious to the blaring car horns. Inside, the lobby was a different universe. Its floors were gleaming imported marble. An elegant, artificial waterfall cascaded down one wall. Scores of impeccably dressed staff bustled about, busy with their various tasks. A sharp blast of cold air hit his damp skin, making him shiver. Zaire just stood there, amidst all the grandeur, completely lost. He felt like an ugly smudge on a pristine painting. A stunning receptionist eyed him with a blend of revulsion and distrust. Sir, can I help you with something? The receptionist inquired, her voice sharp with hostility. Zaire stuttered. I came to see Nala. Miss Nala? The receptionist's eyebrow arched. Are you referring to our chairperson? Do you have an in-reader's appointment? No, but she told me to be here. Just tell her Zaire is here. I am sorry, you may not proceed without an appointment. The woman had already picked up the phone, her intent to summon security obvious. Let him through. A commanding voice cut the receptionist short. Zaire spun around. Director Imani stood there, flanked by 2 large security men. Director Imani's expression was placid, but her eyes scanned Zaire with pure contempt. So, you're Zaire. Director Imani's voice was ice. Let's be perfectly clear. The chairperson is not your friend. She is your CEO. Now, you will follow me. Chairperson Nala is expecting you. Zaire followed numbly, led through the lobby. Every single eye was fixed on him. A rumpled man in filthy pajamas, escorted by the company's director and security. Whispers erupted. Zaire longed to hide his face, but he had no dignity remaining. They bypassed the main elevators. Director Imani halted him in the exclusive VVIP lounge in the lobby's center. Wait here. Chairperson Nala will be down shortly. Zaire stood frozen, his heart hammered painfully against his ribs. He felt like a condemned man, awaiting his execution. Each passing second felt like an eternity. Then, a quiet chime echoed from the private elevator down the hall. Instantly, every bit of motion in the lobby stopped. The bustling employees, the sharp-eyed receptionist, and even the guards stationed at the main entrance, all ceased their actions. They stood at attention, their gazes fixed upon the elevator. A few of them offered a subtle bow. The VVIP elevator doors slid open. 2 bodyguards in black suits emerged first, taking firm positions on each side of the doorway. And then Nala appeared. Zaire's breath caught. He felt like his heart might stop. This was Nala, yet it wasn't the Nala he once knew. The figure approaching him was a queen. She wore an expensive, sapphire blue power suit that was tailored perfectly to her form. A matching silk scarf was elegantly framing her angular face with a modern, chic flair. Her once pale complexion was now vibrant, enhanced with subtle, expensive makeup that highlighted her piercing eyes. Her gait was pure confidence. Her heels made a soft but firm sound on the marble. An air of immense power and affluence surrounded her every step. The employees she passed by hailed her respectfully. "Good afternoon, Chairperson." Zaire shook in fear. Chairperson Nkosi immediately went to Nala's side with a subtle bow. "Chairperson, he is waiting." Nala simply nodded. Her eyes remained locked on Zaire. She moved slowly, each step crushing what was left of Zaire's dignity. She then stopped. Precisely 3 feet from the trembling man, Nala surveyed Zaire from top to bottom, from his disheveled hair to his pajamas and the hotel slippers on his feet. Her stare was cold, calculating, and ruthless. Nala Zaire could barely manage to a whisper. "Yes, Zaire, it is me," Nala replied. Her voice, calm and crisp, resonated through the quiet lobby. "The frail, penniless woman you left behind 3 days ago." Zaire could no longer bear it. His strength completely evaporated. His knees gave way. Without control, he collapsed onto the cold marble, kneeling at Nala's feet, and sobbed without restraint. "Nala, forgive me. Please, Nala, I was so wrong. I was blind. I have wronged you." Zaire reached for her jacket's edge, but his hands trembled too violently. Everyone in the lobby watched, stood stunned. The spectacle was unbelievable. A man weeping hysterically before their chairperson. Nala's 2 bodyguards moved to remove Zaire, but Nala held up a hand, a silent command for them to halt. She wanted Zaire to experience this humiliation to its fullest. "Forgive me, Nala. Let me have our house back. Please, I will leave Anya. I'll be your husband again." Nala regarded him blankly, with no pity, no anger, only an icy emptiness in her eyes. She bent down slightly, not to offer help, but to whisper in his ear. "Get up," she commanded, her voice low, yet filled with authority. With what little strength remained, Zaire shakily stood. His face was a mask of tears and sweat. Nala stared directly into his eyes. "You wish to beg?" she questioned, her voice rising so those nearby could now hear. "Here. What a pity, Zaire. My company, you see, does not employ beggars." With that, Nala drew a silk handkerchief from her bag. For a fleeting moment, Zaire hoped she might wipe his tears, but Nala used it to dab at an imaginary speck of dust on her jacket sleeve, as if brushing away something unclean she had touched. "My company," Nala declared with clarity, "does not employ beggars." After delivering that line, Nala turned with grace and headed back to the VVIP elevator. "Director Nkosi, deal with him," she instructed, not looking back. "Teach him one final lesson." "Yes, Chairperson." The elevator doors slid shut. Nala disappeared from view. Zaire remained, frozen in place, completely broken. The public disgrace from the woman he deemed worthless was a punishment 1,000 times worse than losing his home and car. Director Nkosi walked up to him. "This way, Mr. Zaire. Let us conclude this. There is one more thing Chairperson Nala wishes you to see." "What else? What more are you going to take from me?" Zaire screamed in desperation. "We are not taking," Director Nkosi corrected, but showing you how foolish you have been. All this time. 2 security guards then hauled Zaire away, this time towards a lavish meeting room located on the mezzanine floor. Zaire was shoved into a seat inside the frigid meeting room. The expansive glass window faced the lobby, letting him both watch the lobby and be watched from it. Across from him, Director Nkosi was seated. Serenely, flanked by 2 men in flawless suits he presumed were attorneys, Zaire could only drop his head and gaze at the polished marble floor. He had already been defeated. He was utterly broken. Mr. Zaire, Director Nkosi started. Her tone was placid, like a professor addressing an ignorant pupil. Are you still puzzled about how the spouse you deemed worthless, destitute, and frail, Miss Nala, could possess all this? Zaire remained silent. He possessed no energy to reply. Director Nkosi activated a switch on the desk. A massive projection screen descended from the ceiling as the lighting slightly dimmed. The display illuminated, showing a prominent title, Holdings Business, and Financial Report. Well, let us commence the lesson, Mr. Zaire. We shall return to 5 years prior, Director Nkosi stated. Charts, profit and loss statements, and figures in the billions that strained Zaire's eyes started to emerge. 5 years ago, you were recently dismissed from your initial employment. You were dejected, bitter, and held the entire world responsible, while you were occupied, seeking new work and bewailing your destiny. Your wife, who you thought was merely a housekeeper, began her own venture. From the kitchen. Zaire raised his head slightly. She wasn't preparing your meals, Director Nkosi added, almost as if she could perceive his thoughts. She was creating skincare formulas using botanical recipes from her family's lineage. When you ridiculed her for being fixed on her phone deep into the night, she was in fact answering hundreds of orders from her initial clients. When you secured new employment and grew conceited, she was covertly leasing a small office for a modest production facility. The projection shifted. Images materialized. A picture of a tiny office, a photo of a larger warehouse, and an image of a vast, contemporary factory, followed by pictures of branches in New York, Paris, Shanghai, and Tokyo. Holdings, Mr. Zaire, is short for Aebo Holdings. Aebo is your wife's family name. This company, this building, and all you see is entirely hers, 100%. Zaire trembled violently. But how? The funds? The money? Ah, the financing, Director Nkosi smiled cynically. You always misjudged her because she never demanded very much, correct? You felt proud giving her a monthly stipend of $300 for living costs, which you frequently reduced. Whenever you were upset, you labeled her as poor. Director Nkosi activated another button. The display shifted. A huge figure was displayed distinctly. $1,500,000. $1.5 million. Director Nkosi enunciated every word. This represents Miss Niala's individual net income each month, deposited into a personal account you knew nothing about. An income that vastly exceeds the earnings of your company's CEO, the woman you belittled and threw out for being poor. Zaire was overcome with nausea. The world started to spin. $1.5 million per month, plus bonuses. And as for your debt, Director Nkosi went on. The $4 million loan you took out to purchase that home and that lavish car. You were incredibly smug when the bank gave its approval, were you not? 1 year ago, when you neared bankruptcy from poorly running your side ventures, that loan of yours fell into default. The bank was preparing to seize your assets, but Miss Niala discovered this. Through my direction, Holdings purchased your entire debt from the bank. We settled the account. Zaire's eyes widened. So that means the house and car were already the assets of Holdings for the past year, Mr. Zaire. Miss Niala preserved your reputation. allowing you to carry on. Residing there, letting you carry on with boasts of your fake success, she was still attempting to honor you. As her spouse, she prayed for your transformation. Zaire's tears flowed again, not of regret, but for his boundless folly. He had cast aside his rescuer. She knew I was unfaithful, Zaire whispered, petrified. Naturally, she was aware, Director Enko stated. She knew it all. A lawyer then interjected. And now, Mr. Zaire, let us examine the proof. The display shifted once more. This time, it displayed no financial charts, but video evidence. Zaire witnessed his own living room. He saw his own form, intimately holding Anna on the couch, the date stamp in the bottom right. Corner revealed the footage was from 6 months prior, while Nala attended a group meeting. The scene then switched to their bedroom. Zaire watched as Anna paraded in Nala's clothes and scarves, laughing as she tossed them to the floor, and Zaire was right there, laughing alongside her. Then came the final, most damning clip. 3 days prior, in that very room, Zaire saw himself standing arrogantly before the bed. He saw Nala, frail and weak. He heard his own hateful voice reverberating through the conference room. Pay attention, you pathetic, broke invalid. The divorce has been filed. You need to be out of this place by morning. No more, Zaire screamed, burying his face in his hands. Stop it! I'm begging you, stop! The screen went dark. Silence consumed the room once more. Concealed cameras, the lawyer stated calmly, installed 1 year ago by Miss Nala once she began suspecting you were unfaithful. Zaire was broken. The proof was undeniable. He could not refute any of it. Nala, is she sending me to prison? Zaire pleaded desperately. At first, that was the intention. Director Enosi stated, we prepared charges of verbal abuse, spousal abandonment, and adultery, sufficient to let you languish in a cell. For several years, Zaire shivered with terror. However, Director Enosi went on, Miss Nala had a change of heart. Prison is too merciful for you. She wants you to experience a fate worse than prison, a life of utter disgrace. Director Kosi placed a slim folder before Zaire. Here is Miss Nala's official divorce filing. This document also contains a claim for emotional distress. Zaire opened it with shaking hands. Miss Nala is not demanding any division of assets. She refuses to touch your tainted wealth. She has merely reclaimed the house and vehicle that were hers from the start. But you must still pay for your transgressions. Zaire's eyes grew wide with horror at the amount on the claim. $400,000. $400,000? He shrieked. I have no money. You've taken everything. Not quite. Director Enosi gave a cold smile. But you do still have your career, correct? Ah, but I've nearly forgotten. Director Enos's smile grew. Some breaking news, Mr. Zaire. 1 hour ago, A Holdings finalized the acquisition of 70% of the shares in your employer's company. And being the new majority owner, Chairperson Nala's first directive is an immediate reorganization of management. Your letter of termination is signed. You are, as of now, dismissed. This was the last nail in Zaire's coffin. He was ruined, losing his house, car, wife, savings, and now his career, the very source of his ego. You're devils. Zaire sobbed, his voice shattered. We are simply serving justice, Director Kosi replied. Regarding that $400,000 debt, Miss Nala is quite merciful. She understands you can't possibly pay it, so she is offering an alternative. Director Kosi slid another sheet of paper before Zaire. Sign this statement. Confess to everything. Your infidelity, your campaign of cruel words, and your desertion. If you concede your guilt, we will forgive the debt. Zaire gazed at the confession, the last bastion of his shattered pride. Why do you need this? It's just an assurance, the lawyer stated, to prevent you from fabricating fanciful tales later. Zaire saw no other way out. Jobless, broke, and without a home. With a shaking hand, he accepted the pen. He signed the paper, confessing his misdeeds. "It is done," Director Nkosi said briskly, collecting the documents. At that moment, the meeting room door swung open. Nala entered once more. She stood before Zaire, who was utterly broken, his head bowed low. "You divorced me, Zaire?" Nala questioned in a quiet tone. "You tossed those divorce papers at me while I was ill." Nala then produced the very same folder Zaire had flung onto her bed. Director Inosi had saved it. Before Zaire's disbelieving eyes, Nala deliberately ripped up the flightings. Petition Zaire himself had filed. The shredded fragments floated down onto Zaire's lap. "I'm the one who is divorcing you, Nala," declared with ice in her voice, "and I will ensure you leave with absolutely nothing." She gave Zaire a final look. "Now get out of my building." The two guards who had arrived with Director Nkosi promptly entered the room. "Remove this filth," Director Nkosi commanded. Zaire offered no resistance. He was beyond feeling. They hauled him out, his arms gripped tightly. He was hauled through the busy lobby. The staff stared with a mix of compassion and revulsion. The automated glass doors then slid open, and Zaire was ejected onto the scorching pavement. He collapsed, utterly penniless, jobless, and homeless in just his soiled pajamas. The bitter irony was that a confession of his failings had released him from debt. His destruction was now absolute. For the second time in a day, Zaire was cast upon the sweltering asphalt. The great glass doors of the building shut behind him, sealing him off from the opulent world he now knew was Niala's. He found himself coughing as street dust filled his throat. His face was a mask of tears, sweat, and now city filth. For a moment, he couldn't move, his body frozen in shock. His mind refused to process the devastation that had unfolded with such swift, perfect cruelty. Jobless, broke, discarded by his lover, and shamed in public by the wife he once deemed worthless, that confession of his failings he had signed now felt like his final verdict. People passed by, staring at the strange man in filthy pajamas, sobbing before the entrance of the opulent tower. A security guard had now taken post at the door, observing him with a piercing stare, ensuring he made no attempt to go back inside. Zaire knew he had to move. He couldn't stay there. Summoning his remaining strength, he got to his feet. His knees trembled. He began to walk without direction. Where could he go? He had no home. He patted his vacant pockets. His shattered phone was abandoned in the lobby when they hauled him away. At this point, he genuinely possessed nothing except the clothes on his back. His stomach growled fiercely. He was famished. The last meal he'd had was that stressful breakfast with Anya many hours before. The sun started its descent in the west. The air felt heavy, hot, and suffocating. He thought of his friends, his good-time companions. Maybe they would lend him money. He trekked for several miles toward the coffee shop, where they often convened. Wearing a mask of pure humiliation, he stepped inside. A few of his friends were present. "Zaire, good heavens, what happened to you?" one of them asked, stunned by his state. Zaire recounted his tale, a carefully twisted version. "I was set up, man. All my accounts are frozen. Loan me some cash." The astonished friend's expression turned to ice. "I'm sorry, Zaire. The news is all over the group chat. You were dismissed from the company, is that right? And Aebo Holdings confiscated your assets." Zaire stiffened. "How do you know that?" "Everyone knows, man. You went against Aebo Holdings. You're nuts." "I'm sorry, Zaire. I can't help. I don't want any problems with Aebo." He then turned and walked swiftly away. The other friends acted like they didn't see him. Zaire was left standing alone in the coffee shop. A waiter then subtly guided him out. He returned to the street, disgraced. He had become a total outcast. No one would dare to touch him for fear of Nyala's far-reaching shadow. Night fell, and Zaire was starving. He curled up to sleep before a closed shop, using his arms for a pillow, trembling from the cold. The buzz of mosquitoes and the reek of the sewers were his companions in his slumber. This was his immediate karma. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Anna was in a state of panic. She had just managed to escape Zaire's place with 2 suitcases of designer clothes and bags. She took a temporarily cheap room in a shabby motel. She began calling other rich men from her list. She had to find a fast replacement for Zaire. "Hello, President Ona. It's Anna. Are you occupied? Let's get dinner," she purred with a flirtatious tone into the phone. "Anya?" "Who is Anya?" the man answered. "Oh, President, it's Anna. We met at the party." "Ah, Anna, the bankrupt Zaire's girlfriend." "Yes." The man's voice changed in an instant. "I'm sorry, but I am busy right now. Please do not call again." The line went dead. Anna froze as the line disconnected. She called another man. The reply was the exact same. The news of Zaire's ruin had spread like a plague, and her name had been tarnished along with it. She was the woman with the man during his downfall. She was the mistress who got evicted. Her reputation in high society and with wealthy men was in ruins. No one wanted to get near her. But unfortunately, her bad luck wasn't over. As she was cursing her fate in the motel room, there was a sudden knock on the door. 2 men in crisp, professional suits stood there. "Miss Anna, we're from the law office of Vega Associates. A court summons." Anna's heart stopped beating. She took the summons with trembling hands. Nala had filed a lawsuit. The accusations were adultery, defamation, and destruction of private property. Nala demanded a settlement of $1 million. $1 million? She screamed hysterically. She didn't have that kind of money. All her bags and clothes were presents from Zaire. The following days were a total nightmare for the 2 villains. Anna was out of money. She couldn't hire a lawyer. She started selling off her designer bags for low prices to survive and pay the motel rent. Zaire, after 3 long days of hunger and sleeping on the street, finally cast his pride aside. He needed to eat. He walked over to the central market, where the porters were working. His face, once so handsome, was now filthy. He'd grown a messy, unkempt beard. "Sir, you need help?" he asked the porter's supervisor. The foreman surveyed him up and down. "You look pretty clean. Can you lift rice sacks?" "I am strong, sir." "I have to eat," Zaire begged, his voice cracking. "Move those sacks of rice from there over to the truck." "I will pay you $1.50 per sack," the foreman said. This was the start of Zaire's new life. The man who once wore perfect shirts and the man who once drove a sports car now toiled in the blazing sun, heaving rice sacks that weighed dozens of pounds. His once sculpted, athletic physique was now gaunt, his skin scorched dark and caked with grime from the sun. His muscles strained not from workouts, but from grueling labor. A constant ache plagued his back, and his hands were rough and calloused, and frequently injured. The scent of fresh laundry or fine cologne was a distant memory. Now he only knew the stench of his own sweat, refuse from the market, and stale tobacco. As for Anna, Zaire had ceased to care. The last update he'd gotten from his fellow workers was that Anna, after her spectacular legal defeat against Nala, was drowning in monumental debt. To make ends meet, she took a job as a server in a local bar. Rumor had it she was apprehended during a police raid a few weeks back. Her fate was far more dire than mere poverty. She was utterly ruined. Zaire felt no sympathy, felt nothing at all. His heart was already numb. He toiled like an automaton, hoist a sack, collect pay, purchase rice, then sleep. This had become the sole rhythm of his existence. That afternoon, following 12 straight hours of labor, Zaire collected his pay, $55 in crumpled notes. He then departed the marketplace, his weary legs heavy behind him. He paused before his customary food vendor for a plate of rice with a simple side dish to take away. Holding the meal, he trudged to a busy intersection. There he sat on the filthy pavement, resting his back against a traffic signal pole. He unwrapped the container for his one and only meal of the day. Across the road, a massive video display on a towering building's facade suddenly came alive. It was airing a live broadcast of a business news show. Ziri stopped mid-motion, the rice never reaching his mouth. His plastic spoon hovered in the air. On that colossal screen was Nyala's face. It was a live telecast of the global launch event from earlier that day. Nyala's impeccably composed, serene, and dignified face filled the display, which stood dozens of feet tall. A foreign reporter posed a question in English, with subtitles appearing on the screen. Chairperson Nyala, you are currently one of the wealthiest and most powerful women on the planet. What is the secret behind your success? Zaire held his breath. He noticed Nyala smile faintly. There is no great secret, Nyala responded. Her voice echoed clearly through the busy intersection. I just never stopped working. I consistently believed in my own abilities, even when the individual closest to me misjudged my potential and called me worthless. The container of food fell from Zaire's grasp, the rice and side dish spilled all over the filthy pavement. But Zaire was oblivious. His gaze was locked on the screen. High above him, the woman he once labeled frail and penniless was being interviewed like a global corporate monarch, and down here on the asphalt of the street, the man who once declared himself a king now sat like a vagrant, staring at the remains of his meal mingling with the street grime. Zaire bowed his head low. He wasn't crying, he just laughed, a hollow, despairing laugh. He was defeated. He hadn't just lost his wealth or his status, he had truly lost it all. He had lost absolutely everything. The woman he cast aside now commanded the world, while he possessed nothing, not even enough dignity to retrieve his spilled meal. The cycle of karma was now complete. Did you enjoy this tale? What city are you tuning in from? Let's connect in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, consider supporting me with a super thanks so I can continue creating more. I am so grateful for your wonderful support. I can't wait to read your thoughts on this story. On your screen are 2 more life stories I wholeheartedly recommend. My channel has many more to discover. Make sure you don't forget to subscribe. We'll meet again in the next life story.